As we enter old age, life begins to reveal profound changes, things we may have never considered in our younger years. Our partners, cherished memories, and even the independence we've worked so hard to maintain are now tested by shifts in health, mental well-being, and finances. But did you know that, even in this stage of life, there are ways to rediscover joy, peace, and true happiness? Have you ever wondered what it takes to enjoy a fulfilling, worry-free old age? To help answer that question, today's video will uncover 3 essential pillars that everyone needs to build, a foundation that will become your launchpad, helping you find purpose, inspiration, and daily joy. These aren't just common tips, they're the secrets to a truly rewarding old age. Hit the subscribe button so you won't miss valuable insights on staying healthy, keeping a positive spirit, and creating a life filled with joy and meaning. The journey ahead may look different, but let us walk alongside you as we all work toward a lasting happiness. Health, the foundation of a happy old age. Health is a precious gift that everyone must value. When we are young, we tend to take our health for granted, often consumed by work, family life, and other responsibilities. But as we age, we come to realize that nothing is more important than our health. A healthy body allows us to continue enjoying life, maintain our independence, and avoid becoming a burden to our children. In old age, conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, and joint issues often begin to appear. These health problems not only reduce the quality of life, but can also create psychological stress. Maintaining good health isn't a one-time event. It's the result of consistent effort in daily life. For seniors, staying healthy can be simple but highly effective when done the right way. Healthy eating, a balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, fiber, and low in salt, sugar, and unhealthy fats helps seniors maintain a healthy weight and prevents diseases like diabetes and heart disease. The Mediterranean diet is highly recommended for older adults, as it helps reduce the risk of heart disease and supports cognitive function. Exercise and physical activity, light physical activity, such as walking, yoga, or swimming, helps improve blood circulation, strengthen muscles, and keep the body flexible. John, a 75-year-old man, regularly participates in a local senior fitness club. He shared that staying active keeps him feeling energetic and optimistic. Despite the challenges of aging, regular health checkups, routine medical checkups are crucial for early detection of health issues and timely treatment. Many seniors tend to skip checkups, thinking they only need to visit the doctor when they're seriously ill. However, early detection can help prevent many serious conditions. Espouse the essential companion. In old age, having a spouse to share your life with is one of the greatest sources of happiness. After spending years together, the bond between an elderly couple becomes more than just love. It's an invaluable source of comfort, support, and understanding. A spouse is the person who helps us face the challenges of aging, both physically and emotionally, and life's daily demands as our bodies and minds begin to weaken. In the later stages of life, a spouse's role becomes even more significant. They are not just someone to share joy with, but someone to stand by us when illness and old age take their toll. David and Susan, a couple married for over 50 years, often say that their deep bond has helped them weather the hardships of growing old. Together, they've endured surgeries, illnesses, and, though they can no longer do the things they once did in their youth, their companionship provides great solace. But what if life doesn't grant you a spouse in old age? Many seniors face the loss of their partner, which can be a huge emotional shock. The void left by the absence of someone they shared their life with often leads to overwhelming loneliness. During this time, it's important for seniors to keep a positive outlook and find joy in life. Instead of relying solely on their children, they can join community clubs, participate in volunteer activities, or even pursue hobbies they may have neglected during their younger years. These activities not only bring happiness, but also help build new social connections. creating a support network that can offer emotional strength. Finances, the foundation of independence. In your younger years, you may not need much money to live comfortably, but in old age, financial stability becomes essential. In youth, health and earning potential make life's challenges easier to overcome. However, as you age, when strength declines and illnesses become more frequent, financial resources become more crucial than ever. Some people have spent their lives building up savings or pensions, but not everyone is that well prepared. For those without enough financial support, the burden often falls on their children, who may be facing their own financial challenges or preparing for their own retirement. This can easily lead to tension and conflict within families, especially when the senior's income has diminished. Having a stable savings or pension not only ensures access to health care, but also allows you to cover medical expenses and maintain control over your own life. It means you won't become a financial burden to your children and can live with dignity, without being overly dependent on others. Without financial stability, old age can be filled with worry and dependence, where even the simplest pleasures seem out of reach. On the other hand, with a solid financial foundation, you can enjoy your later years without worrying about money or relying on your children. The stories of elderly people being abandoned or mistreated often stem from financial dependence. Parents should plan ahead for their old age to avoid becoming a burden to their children. Having enough resources to hire help when needed or pay for your living and medical expenses ensures a peaceful and comfortable life in your later years. Here are two stories that offer valuable lessons about patience, love, and independence in old age. We invite you to listen and reflect. Story 1. Thomas and Evelyn's Journey. Thomas, a 60-year-old man, lived in a small town on the outskirts of England with his wife, Evelyn. They had shared over 35 years of a happy marriage and had 2 grown children, both with families of their own. Thomas and Evelyn took great pride in having built a warm, loving family together. For Thomas, their marriage had been peaceful and fulfilling until a major turning point. Evelyn was diagnosed with cancer. Evelyn fought a long battle with the disease, with Thomas by her side, caring for and encouraging her. However, after years of trying, her condition worsened, and eventually, Evelyn passed away. For Thomas, it felt as though part of his life had disappeared along with her. The house they once shared became empty, cold, and unbearably quiet. Every corner of the home reminded him of the memories they had created together, from their afternoon tea by the window to their morning walks around the nearby park. These memories only deepened his sense of loneliness. In the months following Evelyn's death, Thomas was consumed by grief. He no longer found joy in daily activities. He used to enjoy tending to their small garden, but now it was left neglected, as he no longer had the motivation to care for it. The afternoon tea they used to share became something he avoided. Sleepless nights only intensified his sadness and isolation. Thomas began to wonder whether he could ever lead a happy life without Evelyn by his side. But life doesn't stop, and Thomas knew he needed to find a way to move forward. Encouraged by his children, he decided to get involved in community activities in the town. It was there that he met Margaret, a 58-year-old widow who had lost her husband a few years earlier. Margaret was lively, friendly, and always ready to help others. Seeing how quiet and sad Thomas was, she reached out to him. At first, Thomas was hesitant, but Margaret's genuine kindness gradually made him feel more comfortable. They started meeting more often, sharing stories of their losses and how they were each trying to rebuild their lives. Margaret helped Thomas see that, while no one could replace Evelyn, he could still find new joy in other relationships. After about 6 months, Margaret suggested they move in together to help care for one another. Thomas, who was receiving a monthly pension of about $1,500, thought this could be an opportunity to regain balance in his life. Margaret convinced him that living together would help ease their loneliness and allow them to share living expenses, which he agreed was reasonable. With the $100,000 in savings he had accumulated over the years, Thomas believed they could live comfortably and happily. At first, their life together went smoothly. Margaret took care of the house, cooked, and they participated in social activities, took walks, and even joined senior clubs together. Thomas felt like he had found joy again after years of mourning his loss. They lived in harmony, and Thomas began to feel at ease. However, things didn't stay that way. Just a few months later, Margaret started wanting control over Thomas's finances. She proposed managing his pension and savings, claiming it would make it easier for her to plan their expenses. Initially, Thomas didn't object, thinking it would bring Margaret peace of mind. But as time went on, he noticed Margaret was spending more and more on unnecessary items. From expensive clothes to electronic gadgets she rarely used. Not only that, Margaret spent a lot of time playing mahjong with her friends, often gambling away large sums of money. Within less than a year, Thomas's $100,000 savings had dwindled to almost nothing. He realized there was a problem when he could no longer pay their monthly bills. When he confronted Margaret, she suggested they borrow money from his children to cover the debts. Ashamed, Thomas had to ask his children for financial help. His children, who had never liked Margaret, were furious when they found out that their father's finances were being controlled by a stranger. They accused Margaret of reckless spending and blamed her for their father's financial instability. Tensions between Thomas and Margaret escalated. Big arguments erupted as Thomas questioned Margaret's extravagant spending. Rather than taking responsibility, Margaret accused Thomas of being stingy and failing to understand her needs. Family tensions continued to rise as Thomas's children expressed their dissatisfaction with Margaret, leaving Thomas feeling exhausted and trapped in a relationship that had initially promised companionship and joy. All Thomas had wanted was a companion for his twilight years, but now he realized that his life had become more complicated than ever. After many sleepless nights, he made the difficult decision to divorce Margaret. While it was a painful choice, Thomas knew it was the only way to regain peace and tranquility in his life. Thomas's story shows how remarrying in old age carries unique challenges and risks, different from those at other stages of life. These difficulties stem not only from aging itself, but from the changes in mindset, lifestyle, and social relationships that have developed over many years. First, one of the biggest challenges of remarrying in old age is the clash of habits and viewpoints that have been shaped over decades. At this stage in life, people are often set in their ways, including how they manage finances, daily routines, family dynamics, and relationships. These differences can make living together difficult, especially when both individuals have spent years establishing their own lifestyles. Differing expectations about roles and responsibilities within the household can also create tension and conflict, as neither party may be willing to give up or change long-held habits. Unlike younger couples, older individuals may find it more challenging to adapt to their new partner's lifestyle. For instance, in the story of Thomas, he was used to living a simple and independent life, but when he remarried Margaret, he quickly struggled with her extravagant spending habits. These differences not only led to conflicts, but also caused both of them to feel uncomfortable, reducing the harmony and joy in their marriage. Second, gaining acceptance from the new spouse's family can be a significant barrier. In later life, the children and grandchildren of an elderly person have grown accustomed to their parent or grandparents' way of life, care, and attention. When a new partner enters the picture, particularly if that partner takes control of finances or other important family decisions, it can disrupt the family's stability. Family members, especially children, may worry that the new spouse will cause unwanted changes or even harm their own interests. A lack of acceptance and cooperation from family members can create an environment of tension and resentment. This doesn't just affect the elderly person, but can also weaken the new marriage. In Thomas's case, His children didn't agree with Margaret's control over their father's finances, leading to conflicts and leaving Thomas feeling stressed and burdened in a relationship he had hoped would bring him happiness. Moreover, an important factor is emotional readiness. After losing a long-term spouse, many elderly individuals experience loneliness and anxiety about the future. This sense of emptiness and fear can drive them to seek a new companion hastily, without carefully considering the implications. In these situations, older adults may overlook warning signs of incompatibility or underlying conflicts in the new relationship. This haste can lead to negative outcomes, such as marrying someone incompatible in terms of personality, lifestyle, or mutual understanding. In Thomas's story, his decision to remarry Margaret, while motivated by a desire for companionship, wasn't based on a full consideration of their differences, resulting in financial mismanagement and significant conflict in the relationship. The second story involves Mrs. Anna, aged 70, who experienced a great loss when her husband passed away after many years of happiness together. Although she was a strong woman, she couldn't avoid feeling lonely. She also suffered from chronic asthma, frequently coughing and producing phlegm, which made her feel even more vulnerable. Despite this, she longed to be close to her children, believing that living with them would bring her the love and warmth she needed during her final years. After her husband's death, Mrs. Anna decided to move in with her eldest son, John, and his wife. She tried her best to be helpful around the house, caring for her grandchild and doing household chores. Every morning, she woke up early to make tea for the family, hoping to create a warm and cozy atmosphere. However, her daughter-in-law was not pleased. Instead of being appreciative, her daughter-in-law would discreetly pour the tea out and make a new pot, saying that Mrs. Anna's tea was too weak or not to their liking. Each time this happened, Mrs. Anna felt she hadn't done enough, but she kept silent and endured. Her asthma soon became a bigger issue in the eyes of her daughter-in-law. At night, when she coughed, she tried to stifle the sound to avoid disturbing anyone, but her daughter-in-law would often say subtly, "The baby can't sleep well because of your coughing." The gentle remark, though unspoken, made Mrs. Anna feel uncomfortable, but she tried to brush it off, thinking that maybe she truly was causing some disruption. Not only that, whenever Mrs. Anna tried to help with the baby, her daughter-in-law would offer suggestions. One day, Mrs. Anna was holding the baby while her daughter-in-law was cooking, hoping to be helpful and bond with her grandchild. But her daughter-in-law said, "If you hold the baby too much, it won't learn to play on its own. You should let it play on the floor more often." What seemed like harmless comments made Mrs. Anna feel useless and unappreciated in the household. Later, when her second daughter-in-law, David's wife, was expecting a baby, Mrs. Anna eagerly offered to help, thinking she could care for the newborn. However, her second daughter-in-law politely declined, saying, "There's no need. Mom, we've already hired someone to help. You should stay home and rest. Your health is more important." While the words seemed caring, Mrs. Anna understood that her daughter-in-law was concerned that her illness might affect the baby's health. Mrs. Anna felt disappointed and hurt, but kept her sadness to herself as she returned to live with John. When she went back to John's house, the situation didn't improve. Her eldest daughter-in-law continued to make veiled complaints, such as when the grandchild got sick. She'd say, "The baby's been having a runny nose for a while. It's probably because you've been coughing so much." The implication in her words made Mrs. Anna feel like she was the cause of every problem in the family. Though nothing was said explicitly, these comments weighed on her heart every day. What's more, she realized that her presence in the home seemed to increase the tension between John and his wife. Arguments between the couple became more frequent since she had moved in. Mrs. Anna felt not only that her health was a burden, but also that she was causing strain in her son's relationship. The feeling of being unwelcome and isolated grew stronger, and she began to withdraw even more. After months of contemplation, Mrs. Anna finally decided to return to her old home, the place where she had lived with her husband. She realized that while living alone might be lonely, it also gave her the freedom and peace that she no longer found while living with her children, no longer having to endure subtle remarks or the feeling of being isolated. She chose to face her loneliness and learn to become independent. Once she moved back to her old home, Mrs. Anna began a new life, lonely, but more peaceful. The quiet house and old photographs reminded her of the memories she shared with her husband, but she no longer felt like a burden to her children. Every morning, she would brew herself some herbal tea and take a walk around the small garden where she and her husband used to tend to together. Despite her poor health and asthma, which often left her fatigued, she still felt a sense of purpose as she cared for the potted plants and rose bushes that her husband had once loved. The simple lunch she prepared for herself brought a sense of satisfaction, without the tension that had accompanied living with her children. In the afternoons, she would knit, making small sweaters for her grandchildren or to donate to charity. Occasionally, she met with old neighbors and stayed in light contact with her children and grandchildren, but she no longer felt the need to be involved in their lives. In the evenings, she often read her husband's old books, which made her feel closer to him. Although she sometimes felt lonely, she had found freedom and peace living on her own, no longer worried about family conflicts. She found joy in small things and embraced her independent life with courage and serenity. In conclusion, life after losing a beloved spouse can be filled with challenges and difficulties, but it's still possible to find joy and peace if you take care of yourself and make the right choices. Rather than allowing grief to consume you, maintaining independence, not relying too heavily on your children, and not rushing into a new relationship can help you rediscover the meaning of life. Cherish your health, engage in activities that bring you happiness, and build new connections. Life still holds great value, and every moment is worth appreciating. By taking time to care for yourself and remembering the beautiful memories with those you've loved, you can look forward to new experiences and find happiness in simple things. These stories show that while grief is an inevitable part of loss, resilience and self-care are the keys to moving forward and finding light after the darkest of times. If you found this video meaningful, please leave a comment below. It means a lot to us. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.